I'm Jack Davis, the Crops Business Management Field Specialist with SDSU Extension out of the Mitchell office. With us today, we have Heather, who has recorded her presentation. She had family issues that she had to deal with today, and so she's going to talk about our weaned calf risk protection insurance through a recording. And we also have Dr. Diersen from campus, who's going to talk some livestock markets after that. I think we're just about time to start here. There'll be some others joining, I'm thinking, as we move along, but we will go ahead and get started in the essence of our time. And welcome and thanks for joining us. Again, we'll do some questions probably at the end is how we'll handle it today. And you can kind of save those, or as we switch over to Matt, we can maybe get them. But Matt's going to run Heather's presentation from his, and stay with us and we'll get started. So Matt, if you're ready, I think we can go ahead and start the recording.
Yeah, start the recording, and right before I hit play, I'll just remind folks if they want to use the chat feature down at the bottom, Jack and I will both be monitoring that, and we'll do our best to answer questions. So this is a recorded presentation from Heather Gessner.
Thanks for joining me to discuss this new product from the Risk Management Agency and the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation on the weaned calf risk protection insurance. This is a new product for 2024, but also a product that's going to have a lot of similar concepts to it that people that have been utilizing federal crop insurance have used in the past. It is a pilot project at this point, so currently it is only available in South Dakota, Colorado, Nebraska, and Texas, and only covers those spring calves. So if you have a fall calving program on your operation, it's not set to cover any of those calves. Currently, eligibility, to be eligible for any crop insurance product, we need to be have an involved share in that insurable weaned calf, and no delinquent debts with RMA or the insurance agent that we're going to buy this product from. If we kind of start with a timeline so we understand where this product is coming from and what it's going to cover and how we need to be looking at our operation related to this insurance product. The first date we're going to look at there is the sales closing date. That is on January 31st. And then we need to also consider that the prices that we're using for this product come from our November feeder calf contract. So that November month there highlighted in green. The calving period for this program is covering from February 1st to July 31st, and then the weaning period is from August 1 to January 31st of 2025. Some other highlights in there, our final calf report date is on August 1st. So any calves that are born before that August 1st date and have been reported through a production report can be included and considered insured under this product. If you do have calves born after August 1st, they just need to be reported as an uninsured calf so that the count comes out right at the end of the day. For those choosing the harvest price election and a revenue type insurance product, two extra little timelines in there that are of points of note are the projected price discovery time period of December 15th through January 15th. So that's where we're getting our projected prices for what calves will be in the fall. And then the harvest price discovery time period is October of 2024. So they'll take the average feeder calf price of the futures contract in those two time frames to come up with our projected price and what the actual harvest time price is. Just like other crop insurance products, if there's going to be an indemnity paid, they come up with that on January 31st, and bills are due on February 1st. So if you had an indemnity, you'll be taking that minus the premium and those types of things. So just keeping that in mind, that's kind of what the timeline looks like. We're going to start here in January, and it goes until January 31st of 2025, with their calving period being those spring calves that are born February to July of 2024. So where are you going to buy this product? It's going to be from your local crop insurance agents if they choose to sell the product. There might be agents around that choose not to make this decision to add it to their book of sales. So make sure you check early so that you're working with an agent that you know will have the product, and you can get the information into them on time and as needed when it needs to be sent to them. 3 types of coverage, and this is where you should start to see some very common words for you in the insurance market. There's going to be a yield insurance product, the yield protection option, a revenue protection, and then revenue protection with the harvest price exclusion. Big component between the 3 of them is there's some rate differences in those types of things because of the amount of protection and what you're protecting throughout those different products. The picture that you see there is a cost estimator calculator that USDA's webpage has available for you, and I've put the website on there. You can go type in the commodity and what state you're in and those types of things to determine what your actual coverage might cost, different types of coverage availability for you. I put in some different South Dakota counties, and it appears at this time most counties are going to have the same rates for the 3 different types of protection. The county really becomes important as we get into, maybe years in the future here, and different counties maybe have more variation in the production that is being reported, and that, variance is what's going to increase or decrease different county prices and rates for the product. If you have pastures and move these cattle to more than one county, the county or the bill you're going to get paid on is going to be the higher of all the counties where these calves might be housed at any given time. So I mentioned that January 31 deadline. Make sure that you've got that penciled and circled in, and you're paying attention to that deadline so that we get that information into our insurance agents that we're looking at this type of product for our calves. And then some things that we need to know are some of the definitions. And the calf report is going to be that most common definition that we need to know. The calf report is the summary record of all the live calves born throughout the different time of, from the time we start calving until that August 1st final calf reporting deadline. So I think this might be part of the program that gets a little clunky because calves seem to be born maybe every day during that 60-day calving window that we're given. So that part of the project here might be a bit messy and might need to be figured out a little bit different, but that's one thing that we need to be thinking about is how we're going to methodically remember to call our agents and make those determinations so that if something would happen, any calf loss that would die from a covered situation is on our calf report so that they are technically insured and covered by this insurance product. So for the insurance period, for those calves on that calf report, they are covered until the earliest of any of those different options there on the screen. Typically, probably items D, putting that commodity to another use. We wean the calves and they go into a background program. We wean the calves and they are sold at the auction barn, whether it's an early sale because of a drought condition or if it's considered our normal time period to be selling those calves. And at weaning time, that's when this insurance product is also canceled. So unless you don't wean the calves and they run on corn stalks all winter with the cows, on January 31st, that's when these calves are no longer covered by this weaned calf insurance product. And item G, if you're moving these calves to a different country, then the product ceases at that time as well. For calf reporting requirements, you're going to have to report by type, including different insurable and uninsurable live calves. So again, if something is born after that August 1st final reporting date, that's an uninsurable calf, but we need to make sure that it's reported so that we're counting the right number of calves at the end of the season, when we wean. We need to know how many brood cows we have, so how many calves are we looking at to get started with. The estimated number of calves born after that final insurance date of August 1st, the date you're planning on calving for each type and unit, if there's different land available, what's the land identifier for that, and then you finalize with your insured signature and date at the bottom of the report. So causes of loss are covered through this product are adverse weather conditions, fire, wildlife. Hopefully we don't deal with any earthquakes or volcanic eruptions in South Dakota. It also covers different disease losses, but that damage cannot be due to insufficient or improper application of disease control measures. So the use of vaccinations and such to prevent losses from those types of diseases is going to be part of your verification program. Other components and causes of loss are losses caused by directly damaging of pastures. So if we have a drought in one year, that drought maybe causes a reduction of forage, which causes a reduction of milk production in our cows, which then in turn says we don't have as big a calves as we planned on for that year. So that would loss in weight and reduction in quote yield is going to be a covered loss under this insurance product. Calf death loss due to any of those covered perils, as long as they're insurable and we've got documentation of that loss, is also included. Blizzards and those types of things would be weather and peril that would be covered through this product. The final number, bullet number 9 there, is for the revenue protection side. If there is a change in harvest price from the projected price, so that is also a loss component because we had a change or a reduction in the price that we projected for those calves. So to get started with this product, we're going to have to fill out a pre-acceptance worksheet. This is required by RMA for all new policies of any commodity, and since this is a new product for everybody gets to fill this one out. A list of all the information that you need to have for this worksheet, or what they commonly refer to as the PAW, is included there, and as you go down the list, you can see prior year damage is included, where that might be a drought. So maybe the pastures are a little bit reduced in their forage production moving into the next year and those types of things. There's also a nutrition plan, an insect control plan, a herd health plan, disease control measures. All of those are parts of this plan. So it can say, do we have enough nutritional feed available to take care of the cows and calves that are going to be insured in this product? Do we have disease control measures in place? What is our vaccination plan so that we're not losing calves to anything that is preventable through the use of a vaccine and some of those types of things. So additionally, if you're going to change any of your practices or production methods, maybe in the future after you've utilized this product for a while, that would trigger the need for another worksheet because you maybe have reduced weaning weights or something like that through changing of any of your production practices or methods. So just something to keep in mind there as you move forward. So on this screen, you can see an example of what the weaned calf application or this pre-acceptance worksheet looks like. This is the PAW, and it shows kind of the different areas that we talked about there. So the legal description of the ground where the calves are going to be at, the crop type, which in this case is our weaned calf, and the type is the spring calving herd, the number of acres running, how many cows, and then do we have any of those nutrition plans clear down to disease control measures that are included, and what's our expected start of calving date. Page 2 of that, any of those pieces, you can add different remarks and different comments about the cattle that you're covering and different source of information and those types of things. So not a tricky worksheet for everybody to work through and fill out on that side. So part of that pre-acceptance component for this new application is the pre-acceptance inspection report, or the PAIR. This is also part of the requirement for new applications, and it will need to be completed within 30 days of that January 1st sales closing date. So there's going to be a lot of busy individuals out there, if this product is widely accepted, trying to get those pairs completed. So basically, all new applicants need it. They're looking for different changes in the cattle operation. You know, if there's significant changes in the number of cows or changes in your insect or disease control measures and some of those types of things, then we might need to be looking at this inspection component. Also, the pair is going to be looking at overgrazing or poor quality pasture and range forage conditions, so that we maintain that we are producing and have the ability to produce the pounds that we're trying to ensure, or the revenue that we're trying to ensure with this product. They want to verify adequate levels of resources and management for the cattle herd, and sometimes the PAW, that application worksheet, might initiate this inspection if it's, you know, a change in somebody's protocols and their normal situations. So just saying, you know, if you're gonna look at this product, you might be working with your insurance agent maybe sooner than later, so that you can make sure that you get on the list, so that this gets taken care of within that 30-day window after the sales closing date of January 31st. Here's what that worksheet looks like, that inspection report. So it basically fills out all of the required information of, you know, how many acres, how many cows, and then fills in acceptable and if there's plans available and that have been put in place for that calf operation this year. Your calf report is going to be that record of births and movement of cattle. You want to make sure that they know when your first day of calving is, and then update with the number of calves that are born. So having a really tight-knit calving season so that you can report big numbers on any given phone call is always going to be a little bit easier for you, but making sure that you've got those calves on the report, so if something happens weather-wise, they are now considered insured, is going to be very important. We also need to make sure that if we're moving cattle to different pastures, that's also part of that calf report. So if we're taking them from, you know, our calving pastures and moving them to summer pastures, letting the insurance agent know is part of your requirements as the insured. So then we're going to verify the calf production at weaning time, and that weaning report is the production report that we're using in this situation. So good records and documentation of accurate weaning weights and weaning dates and the number of calves is going to be one of your big responsibilities, because that's where we start accumulating our APHs for our calf herd. To start with, there are predetermined T yields for our calf weights based on counties, so you'll have to check into your county on what your T yield for weights is, and you can kind of work back and forth that way when you start applying for this product. So the exception to, you know, having calf weights at weaning weight, if you don't take weaning weights and because you're going to background those calves before you take them to the sale barn, there is an adjustment into the product so that you can take advantage of backgrounding and, you know, get them eating and get the balling out of them before you take them to the sale barn. So that's 1.5 pounds per day per calf reduction in the weight from that sale barn date. So an example that's in the materials is if you bring those calves home and you wean them and you background for 10 days, if you have 10 calves that weighed 7,500 pounds on sale date, giving you an average of 750 pounds there. You had them at home for 10 days. We made the assumption that they gained 1.5 pounds per day equals 15 pounds. 15 pounds minus that 750 scale weight gives us a weaning weight of 735 pounds for your cow herd. So that's going to go into your herd production records and be part of your actual numbers for the years coming up. One of the things that part of the requirement here for weights is that there's a third-party verification of the weight. So we're going to need to keep sale documentation, scale weigh tickets, calf counts, and different weight records. So making sure that we're keeping all of those and submitting them to our insurance agent is part of the requirements for those insured calves. If you're taking them to an auction barn, you've got sale tickets and the like that way. If you're a producer that's keeping those calves, or you're a purebred producer that's weighing calves individually, you're going to need to have a third-party verifier on hand during that weighing component. So some of those approved disinterested individuals might be a loss adjuster, somebody from extension, veterinarians. They've got a variety of individuals listed on the sheet there and on the on the slide in front of you. So make sure that you've talked about it ahead of time and you know who could be your third-party verifier if you're taking individual weights at home, or if they need to be ran across the scale at weaning when you're bringing them home from pasture and those types of things. So just kind of do some due diligence ahead of time, have a plan worked out and approved so that when we get to weaning time, we know what we're going to do and who's going to be, our third-party verifier and how we're going to verify that for our insurance agent. Again, showing you what that weaning weight report looks like here. The pertinent information is included, so you can see on this one we have an August 15th wean date and also an October 1st weaning date. And down in the remarks section you can see that we early weaned some of those calves and we attached the sale barn records when we sent those calves to town. So we had poor pasture conditions, which is an acceptable loss component, so some of that change in weaning weight is going to be covered by the insurance product here. And the background adjustment report, that one is now on your slide. You can see that we backgrounded this set of calves for 30 days from October 1st to October 31st. The adjustment factor being that 1.5 pounds, 45 pounds of backgrounding adjustment. So it brings our weaning weight from 592 to an adjusted calf weaning weight of 547 there. So those are the weights and the total weight that would be utilized for any potential indemnity payments on this herd. So when we start thinking about price determinations for the revenue components and where do we get those numbers from, I mentioned that we're going to use the feeder cattle prices from the CME futures. We're also got some variations across the nation based on location. So the historical regional calf prices are also going to be utilized for some of that revenue coverage as we're looking through, take advantage of some of the basis components that we talk about in any calf marketing discussion. In the bright blue colors there, you can see where South Dakota falls in that north central region and the states that are included there. And then in the southern region, the yellow ones where the Texas calves are going to have their historical regional price differentiations from. The states with stars are the pilot project states. So you can see 3 of the 4 states are going to use the North Central region numbers. If you're looking for these numbers and how they're found and determined and the averages, the 2 web pages that are listed right there will have those historical regional calf prices and give you more information on the actual numbers that might be utilized right there. So that regional factor determination, here's some of the algebra that goes into it. We're looking at an average calf weight of 650-pound calves within those regions for that corresponding November feeder cattle futures price. So that's the math that it takes to get to that regional price factor so that we can make those changes. And remember, you know, these are based on those 650-pound calves that are the futures price is determined off of. So we also need to take in, price slides, because typically our lightweight calves have a higher price per pound than some of their heavier counterparts. So the price slide differentiation, if your average price or your base weight that you're going to be utilizing is lower than that 650 pounds, we can look at that weight differential and utilize that price adjustment factor that we just developed in the earlier slide and take in that price slide consideration. So in this example, there's a 300-pound calf compared to that 650-pound base weight that we started with. So if your base is maybe 450, you would insert 450 there instead of the 650-pound so that we can get that weight differential accounted for and take advantage of that price slide in this situation. Just quick, here's the price discovery timelines that I mentioned early in the presentation here. All states are using the same feeder cattle contract, the November contract, with the same price discovery periods and the same harvest price discovery timeline. So we'll take the average of the November feeder cattle price during those 2 different timelines. So here's my contact information. If you have questions or comments or want to walk through any ideas, thoughts, or examples, or if you have questions that we need to maybe move up higher up the chain through the risk management agency, we can sure ask some of those questions and kind of combine maybe some of our concerns or start a frequently asked question block on this new product that is available out there. So just remember, January 31st is that deadline for signing up for the product. We're going to cover spring calves only. So we've got a 60-day calving season that would be covered and considered insurable, and that our final crop reporting date for these weaned calves is August 1st. So if you have any questions, I would encourage you to reach out to me either by phone or email there, or you can follow me on Facebook. If I come up with any really enlightening things that I think the general population should know about this product, I will be posting it there as well. So thank you for your time, and let me know if I can be of assistance.
Well, thank you to Heather for providing that. And okay, Matt, it's good to go.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. That was the first that Jack and I had either one of us seen the information on the new insurance product. So it looks like yield insurance on calf production or calf productivity from the time calves are born until weaning. So interesting to take a look at that. Big picture, I thought I'd take a look today at a few other aspects of the cattle markets at this time, just to kind of take stock of where things are at, given some of the moves in both the fat market and the feeder market. I think this is maybe positive news or good news. Total red meat in cold storage. This would be beef and pork for the most part. You can see 2023 there substantially lower than last year and below the 5-year average. So there's not a burdensome supply of beef and pork in cold storage at this time. Tighter supply generally means or is supportive of prices. So that's one fundamental aspect to consider. Probably the thing that's been in the news was the October cattle on feed report. Here's the highlight of that report. The inventory of the cattle on feed in October was up sharply or up from a year ago levels. And you can see seasonally that blue line going through there crossed over the dotted line a year ago. So we moved through that backlog that was present in the feedlots in early 2022. And then this last report shocked the market a month ago, saying, oh, there's all these cattle on feed. Now, at the same time, I think that's only part of the story. You can see seasonally, we would have expected an increase in cattle inventories in feedlots at this time of year. But the breakdown was a little bit more nuanced, I guess, if you would. I'll circle back to that cattle on feed, but I also wanted to highlight just the fact that looking at a couple of the nearby cattle contracts. So here we've got the live cattle for February 2024 and the feeder cattle market for March of 2024, just showing the implied volatility for at-the-money options. So think of at-the-money puts. This is what the volatility pattern's been. So going from left to right, the volatility was fairly low across both of these contracts. And then you can see that after that cattle on feed report came out in late October, you had a spike in the volatility. So prices collapsed for several days in a row and the volatility shot up, and then everything kind of settled back down. And now in the last couple of weeks, the volatility has gone back up for these contracts expiring in early 2024. So it had been very inexpensive to lay off risk for a very long time in the cattle complex, but in recent weeks we've had some shocks and then some increase in the volatility. So now it's becoming more expensive to lay off risk. So prices have fallen and the volatility has gone up. Kind of an old story, but one I wanted to just highlight because it'd been easy to just ignore the fact that volatility had been very quiet in the cattle complex for much of 2023. Now, circling back to that cattle on feed report and the cattle on feed situation, the bad news or the negative side of things is the short run supply of market ready cattle would be seen as growing a little bit, or a negative, all these cattle that need to be moved through. Well, that's part of it. They're pulling, basically the market has pulled cattle forward. So this is a snapshot from July 1 showing the feeder cattle supplies outside of feedlots. So as of July 1, you already had a very low number of cattle that could be replacing empty pen space in feedlots. And then fast forward to the end of that recent cattle on feed report, and that showed that as of October 1, taking off the slaughter that had happened for the third quarter of 2023, you had a very low number of implied feeder cattle outside of feedlots at that time. The number, this was from the Economic Research Service in their Outlook report yesterday, put the number at a record low for October 1. As far back as they had records, which go back to 1996. It's fewer cattle outside of feedlots now compared to 2014, a significant year in terms of calf prices. And the number as of October 1 was down 3.9, almost 4% from a year ago at this time. So the feedlots might have cattle in them now, but there's all indications point to fewer cattle available to replace anything that's currently on feed. The other significant, I think very significant thing with the on-feed situation at this time is that heifers make up a record level of cattle on feed at this time. So the heifer mix on feed is currently running at 40%. That really doesn't happen unless you've got wholesale heifer liquidation where you're not retaining any heifers to speak of, and you're really just continuing to contract the overall cattle herd. So that's bad news in the short run, meaning more beef in the very, very, very short run, but very positive news if you have pastures and range. If we look ahead to the future or the next couple of years, there's fewer heifers out there. Cow slaughter continues to be relatively high, so you're not seeing any signs of expansion. The only thing that sort of was a little unusual or partly explains the difference observed in the cattle on feed report. There was an increase in cattle brought up from Mexico, so feeder weight, more likely calves brought in or lighter weight cattle. They added to the overall supply of feeder cattle for that month or for last month, and helps explain why we'd have an increase in placements and such. At the same time, the heifer mix was confirmed by in the ERS. They compared the cattle sold through sale barns in the U.S. So that's just another way of looking at things. And they found that the heifer mix was high in feeder cattle sales here as well. So this heifer mix is not just or is not wiped out or offset by imports of feeders from Mexico or anything else. This is confirmation, I think, that you've got heifers being moved through sale barns into feedlots rather than being retained or used as replacements. So a couple things to probably keep an eye on would be the value of the dollar relative to the peso and also relative to the Canadian dollar to kind of explain or further explain some of those flows. The heifers, this is from whoops, I grabbed the wrong chart. This is from January 1, but just to show that the heifer mix or the beef replacement heifer number, that was down July 1 as well. So you don't have a large number of beef replacements to sort of mitigate the cattle supplies moving forward. So what would that mean? Well, here's a snapshot showing the various cattle cycles going all the way back to 1938. The current cattle cycle is this darker blue line running through the middle here. You can see it's following the pattern very similar to the 2004 to 2014 cattle cycle. So that the numbers continue to decline. Declining number of heifers also means that you're not going to bottom out the cattle cycle at this time. So where is this cycle going, or when will the inventories bottom out and turn around? For that, we use the USDA baseline estimates. These were released a week and a half ago. So these are the preliminary baseline numbers that go into the regular baseline documentation and stuff that happens in February of 2024. So here's the preliminary numbers, but it shows fairly clearly that from 2023 to 2024, you have in 24, you have the bottoming out of cattle inventories, which suggests that you'd have some retaining of replacement heifers probably starting next year. They also show or overlay this, so this would be the cattle cycle increasing to a peaking point in 2031. A little tricky to think about 2031, but here we go. And at the same time, we have the price overlaid here. So this is just the price for calves out of the USDA baseline, but that calf price tends to match up fairly well with the price for 5 to 6 weight steers sold in South Dakota. So even though the calf price you'd think of being a little bit lighter than that, it tends to correlate fairly well, and at least the pattern would be consistent. So to go from 2023 to 24 prices, you can see that from 23 to 24, they have the value in a dollar per hundredweight jumping from 250 to about 290 for next year. So they're saying, or follow the baseline, it says that 24 and for the most part, 2025 would have higher price levels than 2023. Now, that's not the fall price. That's a season average or a year-long price. So price in the latter half of 2023 across the board has been higher than earlier or the average for 2023. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these numbers, inventory, and price numbers. If we take a look at prices, here's the price series for 500 to 600 pound steer calves sold through an AMS reported sale barn in South Dakota. I've got this data back to about 2000, maybe the year 2000 or so. So here we've got the 2023 prices. So these are just weekly average 5 to 6 weight prices. They peaked or got above the $300 mark in mid-June or so, and fluctuated around, and only very recently dipped back below the $300 mark, where you see gaps there in the middle. That's summer or late season time there, where you tended to not have 5 to 6 weight run through a sale barn, or at least not the AMS reported barns, unless they were maybe fleshy or some other factor that threw them out of our records. But you see that the price level, for the most part, substantially higher than a year ago level, and for the most part is exceeding the level seen in 2014, 2015, the high level mark prior to this recent run. Some more recent prices, just zooming in a little bit just to see what else is maybe going on. Here's the last few weeks showing, again, that same 5 to 6 weight steer price is the blue bars on the left. And then the middle one there, the middle set of bars, the orange bar, that would be a 500 to 600 pound heifer, just showing the price discount from a steer to a heifer. Steers are going to gain better, put on more absolute pounds, so they're worth a little bit more when you run them through the sale barn. But then also, just for comparison's sake, anything labeled as a replacement heifer, I isolated those just to see if there's demand right now for replacements that might warrant a higher premium. So you see that they typically get a strong premium for being a replacement relative to something that's going into the feedlot. And in a couple of cases there, it's closer. I think that October 30th, you actually had replacement heifers valued a little bit higher than steer calves. This is not an unusual pattern. It's similar to what was observed last year at this time. And just make a note there, or just note that you're dealing with a very small number of replacement heifers or calves labeled as replacements going through the sale ring for the most part here. So, but I was curious. I thought I'd isolate and pull those out and take a look. Auction volume year to date, I just got the auction agency report covering the calendar third quarter of 2023. And for the most part, year to date, you're kind of running pretty close to the levels by quarter that we've seen over the last few years. The fourth quarter is the big quarter in terms of volume that you'd typically see. So to make any call about the year, you'd want to see what's going to happen here in the fourth quarter. Transitioning just a little bit away from the markets. The last piece here is just a snapshot of the last pasture and range conditions for the United States and South Dakota, just for perspective. So for the U.S., there is a fair number of pastures that were still rated in the very poor to poor categories, or percent that was in those categories. At the same time, that's much improved from a year ago, or the ending values from the end of 2022. So the U.S. pasture condition, the range and pasture conditions are sharply improved from a year ago, and South Dakota's pasture and range conditions to finish up the year, fair amount in that fair and good categories relative to the U.S. average. So South Dakota pastures are in fairly good shape. I think my lawn looked greener in October than it did any other month this year, and that would be in the Brookings area. So just for perspective. So the with those range conditions, I'd like to spend just a couple of minutes highlighting another insurance product, pasture rangeland forage or PRF coverage, because the sales closing deadline for that to make any changes or additions is December 1st. Here's the U.S. trend. So for a long time, it was stuck around 50 million acres, and recently it climbed up to just about 300 million acres. And for perspective, there's only 500 million acres of pasture and rangeland and hayland in the United States. So quickly approaching sort of the upper bound of most pasture being, or a bigger share of pasture being insured in some way, shape, or form. In South Dakota for PRF, a little choppier pattern here. Go back and look at, say, the year 2012, and it could have really used some rangeland insurance. Not many acres were insured, and then it's been choppy in terms of what's been covered and how many acres have been covered. But in the last few years, 2020 through 2023, you can see a pretty strong uptick, and just over 6 million acres were insured last year. And for 2023, have insurance on them at the state level. So that would be 6 million acres of about 20 million total acres of pasture, rangeland, and hayland across all types for the state. So not as big of a overall share as at the U.S. level. Some states with very large usage also have very large rangeland areas. So just to highlight a few, South Dakota, 6.2 million acres insured compared to our neighbors to the west having a little bit more. And then if you look down at the Southwest United States, you can see the big absolute users of insurance. So Texas, Nevada, and Arizona, each with around 40 million acres. So those three states, 120 of the 290 million acres covered in 2023. In South Dakota, most of the coverage tends to be purchased on grazing land. So you can see here, 95% of it or so was covering grazing land. And most of the coverage last year was purchased at the 90% level. So 90% of rainfall in your area would be insured, or a lack of rain at that 90% trigger level would trigger an indemnity payment. Like all insurance, it does have a subsidy when it's a crop insurance product at this time. So PRF does have a crop insurance subsidy. And just looking at the last 10 years track record, there have been indemnity payments, dry years, 2016, 17, compared to wet years, say 2018 and 19. The indemnities were high relative to the after subsidy cost of the insurance. So looking at the last 10 years, there's years when it will pay out a lot, pay out a little. So far for 2023, it was too early in the year to represent or give a representative view of what's happening. But last year, 2022, for example, paid out about 3 times what producers had paid in. And over the last 10 years, producers have gotten back about $1.60 in indemnity payments for every dollar they have paid in on this coverage. That sounds good until you compare it to the national level, when it's closer to $2.20 paid out for every dollar paid in. So the product works. It's got its quirks, but at the same time, as it continues to be used, or we add more acres and for more consistent use, or as it's used more consistently over time, I would expect that the payout ratio or the effectiveness of it would approach the national level. You just see why in years like 2018 and 19 paid a lot in for the coverage, and then it wasn't needed. So there was adequate moisture those years during the insured intervals in the insured places, and they didn't have much of a payout. And then other years you see the substantial payouts occurring. Coverage amounts for those varies a lot by location. So the eastern part of the state, the acre coverage for either pasture or grazing or haying, substantially higher compared to the West. That's been a point of concern over time, but it is what it is, and it does match up reasonably well with the quoted rental rates in those areas. The last piece on this, just want to highlight the what intervals tend to be used. This hasn't changed much over the last few years, but for that nasty PRF interval selection, you tend to have a little more coverage purchased January, February, May, June, and November, December relative to some of the other months. If it was uniformly spread out, you'd expect about 9.1% of the acres to be covered in each one of those blocks. So the green shade or darker shaded blocks there are just where there's a little bit more coverage than average purchased. And in the later peach colored boxes there, a little bit less coverage purchased, just to give you some idea of what's happening. And the final slide, hey, we're coming up on Thanksgiving, so I wanted to show you a little better situation in terms of the turkey and cold storage compared to last year, but still running a little bit less than the 5-year average. So turkey prices might be a little bit closer to normal. I know they're better on the retail side, and that 5-year average cold storage level is picking up some of that price disparity seen in 21 and 22 average together. So usual disclaimer, here's my contact information, and we'll have the civil rights information again.